Hey, what's up?
Hello, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Danielle.
Two curls.
One comb.
And this is Two Curls.
One comb. What we're going to talk about is a few tips and things we learned when we were transitioning from perm to natural hair. So one, try to avoid using heat. I know it's hard because you kind of always want like your natural hair to look like your perm hair, but it's not possible. Like, don't try and start forcing your hair to look one way when it's not gonna happen.
Quit while you're ahead is what you need to learn.
Yeah. Protect your ends, because the more you start to grow your perm ends out, they start to become brittle and dry, and they just look, you can clearly tell the difference between the two. So it's easier to do protective stylings like braids, or to tuck it under so that it's not in dangerous way.
Right. And that also can go along with what my biggest tip was when I was transitioning, was to basically ignore the fact that you have two textures on your head, because you have two textures on your head. So if you tuck it in, you tuck those ends in, you bobby pin it down, you get comfortable with protective styles, then the awkwardness of having those two textures that we were taught were bad, goes away. So that's that tip.
Yeah. And another one is be gentle to your hair, because I found like when I was growing my perm ends out that they would get tangled the easiest. Like as soon as I would go to wash my hair, they would immediately start to get tangled and matted, and I could get through like the natural part fine, and then when I got to the ends they were crazy. So it's best to work from the bottom up to your hair when you're combing and detangling.
And then next rule is just basically to have no expectations. You can look at Danielle's hair and see that she has a lot of hair. Then you can look at my hair and then see that I don't have as much hair as she does. And so if I was to look at her hair and then, be perm sitting over here and then want my hair to come out like hers, I'd be sadly mistaken, because clearly genetics said that Stephanie did not have hair like Danielle. So basically to not look at anyone and be like, oh, I want my hair to come out like that, because you don't know what your hair is going to come out like. And then it would be a sad shame for you to go and BC your hair, big chop your hair, or to grow all your permed out, and then you realize, oh man, it don't look like it, like I thought it was going to look. I think being natural is being accepting of what you were born with.
Yeah.
So, and believing that it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yay. Ting. Hey, there's some ingredients you should look out when transitioning. One of them being sulfate, just because it'll start to dry out your natural hair, leaving it brittle and strip it of its natural oils and things.
The next one is mineral oil. There's a lot of controversy with mineral oil. Some people say that it can be good if you use it the right way, but I just have learned to avoid it completely, because it does not absorb in your hair shaft. So if it's not going into my hair shaft, then what do I need it for, So I just forget it. And a lot of times, a lot of these oils, they say, oh, it's coconut oil, but you turn it over and it has mineral oil and petroleum first, and then lanolin next, and then coconut oil after that, which means there's probably like 2% coconut oil in the actual oil.
First it's fragrance,
then it's coconut oil. And you're like, so I'm getting like 2% coconut oil, which coconut oil is great, but you need coconut oil.
Just go to Whole Foods and get a jar of coconut oil.
And like that same jar of grease that's about this big, coconut oil comes in a jar about this big, so you good to go. And I guess the next ingredient would be petroleum, which is Vaseline. In my brain, I always think Vaseline. And like, Vaseline is made to be a barrier, and a lot of times that's just not a good thing. Sometimes there's moisture in the air that your hair needs.
Yeah, especially like that idea of greasing your scalp using like, was it TCB grease and
Blue Magic grease.
Yeah, like no, you're creating a barrier between your scalp and the air, and you're not letting your scalp breathe, so it won't grow. It can't get the air that it needs to.
So now we're just gonna tell you about how we transitioned. You wanna go?
Okay. I've been natural for a little over a year. I cut off all my perm ends.
I cut off all her perm ends.
2010, the day before Thanksgiving last year, 2010. So, transitioning, I've always hated using a blow dryer, even when I had permed hair. That's the thing I hated the most about it, because it took so long for my hair to dry, being that it was so thick. So, even when I was getting permed, I saw Stephanie, she was transitioning, and she would do Bantu knots, and I was like, I ain't gotta use a blow dryer, girl. So I would start doing Bantu knots, and then, you know, after I would wear my Bantu knots, then I would flat iron it, and I did that for like a couple of months, and I was in college, so I was like, I don't have money to go get a perm, get a $130 perm that they charged me. After that, I was like, nope, you know, it's been a while, hey, let's just see where this ends up. And then like a few months turned into like 6-7 months, and I continued to do Bantu knots and braid outs and things like that. And then next thing you know, I was like, okay, well, I'm not really using heat that much. Let's just see how it happens when I don't use heat at all. And I cut that out, and I noticed that it grew a lot, and I, you know, continue to do more research with hairstyles and more twist outs and braid outs and Bantu knots. And then I did that all the way until my BC, my big chop.
And you transitioned for how long?
My last perm was June 2009, and I cut all my perm ends off of November 2010.
So, and she had like a bob.
I had, like, say right here when it was straightened.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, when it's natural and shrunk, it was about that long, and I was like, okay. And that was one thing. I kind of expected it to be one thing, and then when I got it, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, shrinkage is terrible when you get natural.
And then me, when I transitioned, I did it on accident. And the reason why I said on accident is because I literally went from one weave to the next weave to the next weave to the next weave. And then one day when I took the weave out and I washed my hair, and I went to, because I was living on campus, and I went to comb out my hair so the girl could re-braid it and stuff. I looked and I said, dang, it ain't no more relaxer. It's just like a little bit of relaxer and a whole bunch of curly hair. So I was like, okay. So I let her sew the tracks in that one last time, and I ended up cutting the tracks to where I knew my hair was, which was just a bob. It was, because I transitioned for like a year or two, I think. And then, so it was just a bob, and I got comfortable with that little bob. But unfortunately for me, I didn't cut the heat out at all. At the first year I was natural, I would flat iron with grease, like a frying pad on your head. Like, that is the worst thing you could probably do, is put grease in your head and decide that you're gonna run the flat iron through it so you can sizzle and burn. and that's exactly what I used to do. And then so after that, what did I do after that? Oh, I started experimenting with like Bantu knots and twist outs and twist Bantu knots outs. Twist Bantu knot outs. That's
just say twist Bantu knots.
twist Bantu knots. And then I used to do braids, and then I'm at the current hair regimen that I am at now, I do incorporate heat, but I know how far my hair can take it and how far my hair cannot take it. So, I mean, there's ways to do it with the heat, but you have to realize that heat is manipulation, and with manipulation you have the chance that you might go too far, and you have to learn your hair. So, that's that.
Hope we were helpful. Good luck to all those out there transitioning. Be patient and ignore your hair.
I feel like that sounds so bad. But
it's not, I know it's kind of cliche, but it's a long process. But then when you look back at it, you'll see how far you've come. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.